My fellow Americans, we will no longer be oppressed by the fascism of Christianity. Because I see you all sitting out there trying your hardest to fit in, trying your hardest to earn your way into heaven. But let me ask you, do you want to be in a place that's filled with a bunch of
Blessed is the fact that Christians can rejoice even in their deepest distress. Although trouble surrounds them, surrounds us, surrounds you, they still sing. Do you sing? You sing hymns and spiritual songs? Or do you sing what's on the radio or those things that inflame your passions, you know? Anyway, like many birds, they sing best in cages. Yeah. Now that's sort of a paraphrase, an excerpt from a morning devotion by Charles Spurgeon. And I want to go on with that a bit. Psalm 97. The Lord reigns, let the earth rejoice. Causes for disquietude, there are none so long as this blessed sentence is true. Think about that. Causes for disquietude, there are none so long as this blessed sentence is true. The Lord reigns and will continue to reign. On earth, the Lord's power as readily controls the rage of the wicked as the rage of the sea. His love is as easily refreshes the poor with mercy as the earth with showers. Think about that next time it rains. Majesty gleams in flashes of fire amidst the tempest's horrors, and the glory of the Lord is seen in its grandeur in the fall of empires and the crash of thrones. In all our conflicts and tribulations, we may behold the hand of the divine King. God is God, he sees and hears all our troubles and all our tears. Soul, forget not, amidst thy pains, God over all forever reigns. In hell, evil spirits acknowledge and own with misery his undoubted supremacy. When permitted to roam abroad as with a chain at their heel. The bit is in the mouth of the behemoth, and the hook in the jaws of the Leviathan. Death's darts are under the Lord's lock, and the grave's prisons have divine power as their warder. Think about that. All those in the grave, the Lord is the warden of the grave. He holds the key to death and hell. Continuing. The terrible vengeance of the judge of all the earth makes fiends cower down and tremble, even as dogs in the kennel fear the hunter's whip. Fear not death nor Satan's thrusts. God defends who in him he trusts. Soul, remember in thy pains, God over all forever reigns. In heaven none doubt the sovereignty of the King eternal, but all fall on their faces to do him homage. Angels are his courtiers. The redeemed his favorites, that's you and me, brother, you and me, sister. And all delight to serve him day and night. May we soon reach the city of the great King. For this life's long night of sadness, he will give us peace and gladness. O soul, remember in thy pains, God over all forever reigns. That was, again, Charles Spurgeon, daily devotion. And it's beautiful. Yeah? God over all forever reigns, and we need to keep that in mind. Because I want to read from Psalm 73:17 here. And what are we doing here? By the way, good morning. Today is Monday, August 12th, 2019 AD. Welcome to Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories, the Sludge Report side project. I'm your host, Uncle Benny. And here we consider, as our talking piece, the Drudge Report and in all its unholy spin, propaganda, mind control, doom, gloom, misdirection, deceitfulness, lies, false premises, you name it. We're here to put on our scuba gear, if you will, put on our armor, and traverse it. Go through the fire in the furnace and come out not even smelling like smoke. And the only way we can do that is if we walk with the Lord, if He is with us, if we're covered by His wings. So we frame it with the Word of God. Psalm 73, verse 17 says, "Until I went into the sanctuary of God, then I understood their end." Now, preceding that, actually, maybe I should read a bit of that. One moment. Now, if you want to get right into the real nitty-gritty of the news and the enticing title here, "Who Done It?" you're going to have to wait a minute, because that's not what we're here for, and you're unprepared. At least, in the format and methodology, I don't like that word. Method is fine. Method. So let me just read before. I have to be careful. I can't copy and paste entire passages. There's only so much room in descriptions, and I have been having some success with pasting in some acknowledgments that YouTube self-generates, where I find these songs that have been there for years, but they're still up, and they're not the official channels. And I'd really love to play some music that I find fitting or appropriate, or to sort of bring us into the place that is Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories. Sludge Report side project. So anyway, "Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches." And I've read this before. I've talked about this passage before in some video. I need to index these perhaps. "Verily, I have cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocency." What does that mean? Sometimes it becomes, Bible say, don't grow weary in well doing. Keep doing good. Keep doing the right thing. Even though it seems that the wicked prosper, seems that others are enjoying and having fun, and that what point is trying to be right? What point is trying to do right? What point is it in avoiding temptation? What point is it in avoiding of doing the selfish thing because you can? The sinful thing, the thing that may harm others. But these thoughts are common to man. This is thousands of years ago. Psalmist said, "I've cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocency. For all the day long I have been plagued and chastened every morning." Now here is a man who is burdened in his heart and his conscience for his misdeeds, for perhaps even compassionate burdens. "If I say I will speak thus, behold, I should offend against the generation of your children. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me, until I went into the sanctuary of God, and then I understood their end." The Bible says in Psalm 37 that "Fret not yourself because of evildoers, because soon they shall be cut down like the grass." Now, am I talking about this gentleman? You probably won't like me to say that. It's just a word. This man, Jeffrey Epstein, who's sort of the center of focus right now, loathsome, vile. He's the scapegoat, really. He's the devil of the day. Devil du jour. There you go. Here's a new one. Devil du jour. Here's your devil du jour. He's the man that everybody loves to hate and is entitled to. And in fact, the more you hate him, the more you speak out against him, the more virtuous you maybe appear. Right? But that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the lying deceivers. We're not talking about this story. We're here to talk about framing the news and recognizing and understanding. And again, this is a project I started because partly devotional, partly to get the old rusty engine running again, dust the cobwebs off, get myself back up to speed and more dexterous. Increase my dexterity with things I already know, but grow, because I'd kind of gotten a little bit rusty. And weeding the garden, right? Anyway, I thought, I'll make these videos because one of the things that I find I have some skills in is, and also I recognize based on just experientially, that I can find a perspective on things that someone hasn't thought of. Or if they do, maybe there's some, you can find, we witnessed that this week. I mean, I'm not the only one who thought, even though I said it a couple weeks ago, that he walked in the front door and out the back. Again, even then, I wasn't certainly the only one who maybe had that view, but wasn't the most popular one, and we witnessed that once this man was alleged and reported that he committed suicide. A lot of people were counting on this bringing down the cabal, Oh, brother. It's sad. It's one thing, it's sad to see good people who are still believing in that Decepticon Donald Trump is their great white hope, draining the swamp. And anyway, I didn't mean to go, almost took a detour there. And if you're a devoted for Donald Trump, I got to be careful here because that's not the point of this. And we're living in such a prickly environment that if I speak ill of your idol, of your God, your demigod, you'll bounce, your ears will close up, your heart will harden towards me, you'll vilify me. And we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about that. The larger psychological operations that are going on. Anyway, all that to explain that until I went into the sanctuary of God, until we're walking with the Lord, until our hand is in His hand, until our mind is renewed and we have the Word, we lose sight of the fact of the wicked shall not prosper. Now, am I talking about this guy? Maybe. I don't know him. He never saw due process. All we have is allegations. Maybe he's a complete and utter character. Well, even then, maybe he's part of something. Maybe he's been blackmailed. I don't know. I don't know. We're not to judge any man, really. Oh, we can certainly judge someone by their fruits as far as discerning that, but we are not the author and finisher of their salvation. We are not their final judge. The Lord is. Sure, we can have a pretty good sense of who is definitely serving Lucifer, and anyway, I gotta be careful. I can't cover every single base, but sometimes I feel I need to, because I'm so used to people who I don't really like to talk to people anymore about anything that's not superficial, even though I don't really like to be superficial, because the cognitive dissonance will immediately default to the most insipid little slight chinks in the armor, if you will, that if you don't, you get bogged down in these things that are really immaterial, don't matter. But that's the smallness of a mind, that they will grasp at a straw, strain in a gnat and swallow a camel. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Surely thou didst set them in slippery places and cast them down into destruction. How are they brought into desolation, as in a moment they are utterly consumed with terrors. So, going on, I really only want to read verse 17. Until I went to the sanctuary of God, I understood their end. We need to understand the end of these lying deceivers and pray for them. Recognize what they're doing and be able to discern their lies and realize that, when we realize the lostness, the understanding their end, where they're headed, what they're doing, these lies will start popping out at you like popcorn in a microwave. Pop, there it is. Boom, it just explodes in front of you. You see the lie. I'm trying to illustrate to you, and I don't do a very good job of it, of like how they're everywhere. It's everywhere. I could sit here all day and pick stuff apart. Anyway, but this is me right here. So foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Nevertheless, I am continually with thee. Thou hast holden me by my right hand. Thou shalt guide me with thy counsel, and afterward receive me to glory. Will you say that? Are you a beast before the Lord? Have you been as a beast before the Lord? Nevertheless, he's saved you, and he's held you by his right hand. He's given you counsels. He's guided you. Well, be assured, he will guide you. He reigns forever. All this that what did we read before? All this disquietude, it won't last so long as his reign. Yeah? Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon the earth that I desire beside thee. Was that true? I don't know. I'm still working that out, right? I get distracted. My flesh and my heart fails, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. For they that are far from thee shall perish. Thou hast destroyed all them that go a-whoring from thee. But it is good for me to draw near to God. I have put my trust in the Lord God, that I may declare all thy works. Now, what does that have to do with the Drudge Report? Or any news, really? Well, I'll tell you, for me, it means this. When we hear all the bad news and all the doom and gloom and all the things coming down and all the things to be afraid of and all the health scares and all the potential dangers and all the things. Well, if your trust is in the state, if your trust is in the state of, not just the political state, but the state of things around you, is your trust in the Lord? Is your trust in the Lord? Or is your trust in the United States being secure and having a strong army? Where's your trust? I was listening to some, thankfully, I really enjoy, there's a gospel station I found, Southern Gospel. And, I'm always hearing new music. I wasn't raised on Southern Gospel. And, as you maybe can tell, I like all kinds of music. But I noticed, it's not just there. It's on other quote unquote Christian stations. There's a song, I think the Oak Ridge Boys, I don't know if they wrote it, but they're singing it. These colors don't run. It's a quote unquote patriotic song. American nationalism song, these colors don't run, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. But anyway, the psalmists say in Psalm 91, 1,000 shall fall at thy side and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come near you. We need to talk about that. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings shall you trust. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flies by day, nor for the pestilence that walks in the darkness, nor for the destruction that wastes at the noonday. 1,000 shall fall at your side. Think about what that means. And 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you behold and see the reward of the wicked. What is the reward of the wicked? They'll soon be cut down like grass and wither as the green herb. Soon enough. But the Lord reigns forever. The Lord reigns. So anyway, maybe this is where you got off the bus. Maybe you haven't even made it this far. Or maybe I'm talking to the wind now because you don't like the little sermonette, as it were. Well, I'm about to talk about something really heavy. And it may not strike you as heavy as it is. And I will say, maybe it won't myself either. And I also probably won't make as heavy a presentation as I could about it. But that's due to our lack of belief, the hardness of our heart, and the darkness of our mind. What am I talking about? Genocide. Genocide. I'll get to that in a minute. So, just briefly, who done it? There's a picture of the demonized of the demonized of the day, the demon of the day, the devil of the day, Jeffrey Epstein, who over the weekend was instantly reported, committed suicide before any autopsy, anything like that. And the headlines still up here, conspiracies erupt, Clinton body count. There are people up until now who've never heard of Clinton body count. Excuse me. Choose your own reality. If you, I don't know about your social media feeds, if you are on those, that you haven't seen your friends making pessimistic comments about how, basically conspiratorial comments. Oh, they got him. He was murdered. Suicide. Yeah, right. Maybe a few have even said he's probably been. I know a lot of these QAnon people, as I showed yesterday. This Robert David Steele character I said, he is putting out the idea in people's minds that it's some Trump. Again, the Q thing. It's all like a big 3D chess. 3D chess. If you think about in Star Trek, if you've ever seen the old original Star Treks and Spock playing chess in their recreation area, and it's like three. I remember it being clear, like it's plastic or glass, but like 3 or 4 levels of a chess. So it's like our chess, but it's on 3 dimensions. It's pretty neat looking. But at any rate, that idea for the last couple of years has been out there that Trump is this this incredible genius who's playing 3D chess, and we just have to wait as he's doing all these operations, and there's a method to the madness. Well, if you believe that, it's time that you started questioning. It's been long enough. You need to start coming out of that, okay? Anyway, so there are still true believers, and there always will be. In fact, in both camps, there will be the majority, because that's how people are. That's how we've gotten to the mess we're in. Anyway, lost train of thought there. So let's just get right down to the real nitty gritty, okay? What you want. Here we've got again, this, you have to remember, the Drudge Report is mainstream news. Now, some people may not ever think of it that way, because it's not CNBC, CNN, Fox, or whatnot. But it is. I don't know what those view. In fact, I should go look into this. But, even on a weekend, it's been high. I think Saturday to Sunday, there was almost 30,000 in the last 24 hours till this morning. It's about almost 30,000. Usually we're saying 24, 25 on the weekends, I've noticed. But during the week, it's about 30 to 31,000. So pretty, people are paying attention this weekend. This has got everything. Sex, money, intrigue, suspense, mystery. It's got it all. Who done it? What's a who done it? It's a entertainment mystery. Who done it? No video. Yeah, there's a lot of things to be said about this whole deal, and I'd love to talk more about it, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, what are they really saying? What aren't they saying? Why? I did talk about, the false paradigm, false premise, false paradigm, or false dichotomy, of being, well, he either killed himself, like they said, or he was murdered. Well, then there was the third. It's like, well, but they're not talking about maybe he's never went there or he was taken away. So we talked about that, okay? Here's what I want to talk about today. We're going to get a little higher here. We're going higher, okay? That's what this is about. We're going higher. We're going to refocus. We don't care about this story right now, about what the actual details are, what's really going on. What's really going on is this is mainstream news, and everyone, now it's okay to be a conspiracy theorist. Now it's okay to talk about conspiracies. Now it's okay. This is the thread that for some people will draw them deep into many other conspiracies. Once somebody recognizes that conspiracies do go on and are happening, it's like seeing behind the curtain for the first time. And then and you know where this is going. It's like, what else don't I know? What else aren't they telling me? What else am I mixed up about? Everything from JFK to the moon landing. And whether the conspiracies are true or not, this is what's important. They mainstreamed conspiracy. Just got mainstreamed in a big way. More than a JFK movie 40, 50 years after the fact. You know, you could make that argument. Well, people know about, really? Not like this. Not like this. This has been ramping up for a long time. Is this a psychological operation? Well, when you put it in context, we talk about at the Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories, Sludge Report side project. One of the things I talk about is context, subtext, and non-text, meaning what they don't say. August 1st, 11 days ago, this was in Business Insider and Yahoo, and I don't know where else. This is Yahoo. FBI document warns conspiracy theories are a new domestic terrorism threat. Read theorists. Right? Are the theories a terrorism threat or the theorist? It's mind control right here. Artemis Direction. Conspiracy theories. Oh, is that just bad writing by Jana Winter? Or why didn't they say FBI document warns conspiracy theorists are a new domestic terrorism threat? Because isn't that the subtext? A theory is not a threat. It's the people they're talking about, right? Did you see that before? Okay, let's move on. So I talked about this, and they may talk about a couple, and you may think, well, it's just the extreme ones who are talking about doing violence. Really? Well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that, and then we'll be done, okay? Conspiracy theories and theorists, let's just make them both together, are the new, and look at all these reactions. Wow, 10,000, almost 11,000 people reacted to this. It's getting traction. People are aware of this, but it's not going to stop them because this is too irresistible. People are it's going to be okay to doubt the story that he committed suicide. It's going to be okay. Then you've got those who are going to promote their idea that, well, it's Trump's, he's in the witness protection program. Did you ever think that through? Have you heard that yet? They put him in the witness protection program because he's going to testify as part of his deal to bring all the cabal down. Hey, listen, if I'm wrong, fantastic. Great. Because I've prayed for this kind of stuff to be exposed. And maybe it is. And maybe I'm just cynical. Maybe I'm just like, what do you call him? Not call him. What's his name? Who's the guy who got swallowed? Jonah. Jonah said, what good is it going to do to go to Nineveh? They're and the whole entire massive city repented at some point. So I got to read that story again. I'm rusty, man. I haven't read that story, or maybe I've never read that story. I'm aware of it and heard it. I don't know. It's been so long. Remember him sitting under some kind of a tree, and the Lord kind of gave him a hard time about it, that he was not thinking correctly about the whole thing. And maybe I'm not thinking correctly about the whole thing. I'm a little too jaded and cynical at this point, perhaps. I don't know. I hope so. I hope that Jeffrey Epstein, this is a big show, and he's in the witness protection program, so he can actually be protected, all the information and all the names and all the testimony they need so they can clean house from all the way up to the top of the houses of Europe to the aristocracy in Great Britain and wherever, and the oligarchy and aristocracy in your country, the United States. Well, good luck with that, okay? I wish you the best. I'm not going on that train with you. Because if you think about it, if you think it through, do you really think that they're going to fake his death through the media, fake his suicide, and then put him in the witness protection program, and then later on they're going to have to say that, that's what we did, and then the public is going to be like, yeah, that was okay that you lied to us like that. That was okay that you put on that show. We understand the greater good. Do you really think that that's what they're going to do? Who's they? The powers that shouldn't be? Those who could organize something like this? So the authorities and the Justice Department and the FBI and everyone involved, up to the Trump administration, that they're going to deceive lawfully the American public. It's all lawful now to deceive you, but do it, and then they'll have to admit it. If he's in the witness protection program, that would be so they can preserve his testimony and use it. And if they do that, they're going to have to tell, people will find out that this whole thing about him committing suicide was a fraud. Are you getting it yet? But yet, people are running with that torch. And people like, I don't know if the whole thing with Mossad, Israel, and Trump making a deal, and he's off to Israel now as part of a deal that Robert David Steele, the allegedly ex-CIA intelligence guy, has put forth. I don't know if he said anything about witness protection or not, but there are people out there saying Jeffrey Epstein, no, he didn't die. He's in the witness protection program. Okay, there's all kinds of ideas. I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's in a morgue. I don't know how he got to the morgue, if he's in the morgue, if he was killed himself, or if he was murdered. I don't know if he's not there at all or never was. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just some dude with a microphone sitting in the backwaters of the world, watching it all go down, but being given a sound mind in the Word of God and discernment, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, recognizing that these people deceive. They lay in wait to deceive. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace there is joy. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. And mischief is not just a little naughty. Mischief is a pretty bad word, biblically speaking. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. There's a lot to be said about the lying deceivers, and we're living in the age of deceit, and the Master said out of his holy mouth, the sign of his return would be, the first thing he cautioned before we even got into the signs of his return, about pestilences, about wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, nation rising against nation, brother against brother. He said, take heed that no man deceive you. It means work to know. Take heed. Be careful. Do a little diligence. To be careful that people don't deceive you. And if you have a love for the lost, a love for people, a love for your fellow man, you don't want to see others deceived either, right? So here we are. And there's clearly some kind of deception. Everybody knows. The Goyim know. There's something going on here. Something's rotten in Denmark, right? And it's also being promoted. Now, you might think this is just accidental history. It just happened. It's just unfolding this way. Well, I believe in conspiratorial view of history, and history is right up to this present moment. This is history that's being made, all the things going on. And what do I mean by conspiratorial? That things don't just accidentally happen. Or if they do, they're used. Or, there's powers that shouldn't be, and extremely powerful powers that shouldn't be. And at the head of them all, underneath the skin, inside the puppet, is a hand, an unseen hand that is the spirit of the age, the spirit of unbelief, Lucifer, demonic realms and powers. It's true. And it's easy to walk around and not think about that stuff until you pop in a movie just for kicks, like The Exorcist or something. Well, there's realities they're all around you all the time. Anyhow, let me just help you out here. You've got a cell phone, I'm sure. Next time you are sitting in a car miles and miles from your friends or family, and you get a call or you make a call, and you can't see the connection, it's invisible. Yet it's real, isn't it? There's an invisible world that's very real. So anyway, where am I going with this? Here we are in the context of conspiracy theorists are now the new domestic terrorism threat. Here is one of our, they're mainstreaming conspiracy things. This is a very carefully, it's got everything. Like I said, this story has got everything. I don't understand all of it. I'm not an expert, okay? I'm just telling you like the boxes that get ticked in my mind through long experience and a deep, deep yearning to know the truth about everything and to not be led astray in any lies. It's a prayer of my heart. All right? So, here we go, even right here. I didn't even plan on this. It just flipped over here on the Yahoo. Jeffrey Epstein's death is perfect storm for conspiracy theories. They're telling you right here. It's a perfect storm for conspiracy theories. Now, what's that do? It makes a lot of people who never were, as I was saying, conspiracy minded. Now they're starting to... Have you ever been lied to by someone? Someone lies to you. Now there's always a doubt in your mind. Think about this on a massive scale. There are people who never doubted things before. What the politicians say is real. What the authorities say is real. Now we've got an epidemic. It's okay now, and it will catch fire, and people will be more suspicious and mistrusting than ever. It's a destabilizer. It's destabilizing. And the FBI is basically saying that they're a domestic terror threat. And what does that mean? If you are labeled or in anywhere, they can keep lists. They can watch you. They can spy on you under their broad powers. Not just the FBI, by the way, other alphabet agencies. And they're under the color of law. And where's this going? I want to bring your attention, going back not quite even 30 years, 25 years, 1994, 100 days of slaughter in Rwanda. At the time, O.J. Simpson trial was going on. Were you glued to that? Did you ever catch any glimpses of people being hacked to death with machetes in the street? I remember I did. I remember being shocked. I think saw something like that years ago on TV, pre-internet. But I've seen it since. And I was reminded because this documentary is Shake Hands with the Devil, the journey of Romeo Dallaire. Now, who is he? He was a Canadian general who was commissioned by the United Nations to go with a very small contingent to sort of help broker or help carry out a peace agreement between the Hutus and the Tutsis, the two ethnic tribes there. Well, what had been going on for years is that now I may get it mixed up here, which one's which. I think the Hutus were the ones who were largely genocided. But they'd been, whichever ones, I believe it was the Hutus, whichever ones. Now remember, if you looked at them standing side by side, these black Africans, Rwandans, you couldn't tell the difference between them. You know that down the line they're related somehow. Well, the Belgians had come in there and they had done a lot of racial type of things where they're measuring their foreheads and their noses, this and that. Well, anyway, they classified people. And when they classified them, then they began to put their identity on ID cards. So when this whole slaughter went down, and furthermore, through myth, propaganda, whatnot, the Tutsis, I believe it was, again, I hate that I didn't make sure I had this straight before I started talking about this. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but just, whichever ones, okay? One or the other. And maybe both ways, but it was the minority that was getting slaughtered, okay? Or was it? Oh, see, I'm mixed up, but it doesn't matter. It really is not, it's immaterial to the story. The point is that the belief was that the other ethnic group or the other tribe, whether it was the Hutsis or the or Hutus or the Tutsis, were less than human. They were alien, even. They weren't quite human beings. They were beneath, right? And at the right moment, things erupted, and they would go into a church, and the same people sitting in the same bench, worshiping the same God, if their ID card was one or the other, certain ones were killed. Men, women, and children, and pregnant women and babies killed. In 100 days, I think almost like 800,000 people were killed. And their bodies were everywhere. Now you might say, well, what's that have to do with the United States and the Drudge Report? Well, a lot. Because we're being genocided. And we're being led to the type of situation where another genocide is possible. Right here on your soil. That's crazy. That's never going to happen here. I mean, most Americans have guns. There won't be an exactly. It's not going to be an invading army, right? Haven't you been turned against your neighbor? What about the status? I was talking about the Homeland Security buying all these rounds, hollow points. Why? Millions of rounds. What is coming down the pike? When? I don't know. I don't know when. Satan knows. He's got his plans. Lucifer knows. Well, let me talk about this. This is 8 stages of genocide. So when I say genocide is going on right now, I mean it in a lot of ways. You have, based on, you could even say if these mass shootings are real and they want to make it out to be racist and that, there's a saying that is, if you save a life, you save the whole world. Have you ever heard that? Now, there are different people that's ascribed or where that came from. It doesn't matter. Think about the truth of it. If you save one life, you save the whole world. Bibles say that God created man, one man, and then he made woman. So there's a man and a woman. From one man and one woman came the entire world that we know, the billions throughout time. Take that in. Wrap your mind around it. Really smoke on that for a minute. Take a deep puff. So when you get Antifa, whatever, okay, you get these people, I don't know if it's risen to the degree of murder yet, but it's on its way. They're taking these lost children in this country and giving them some kind of it's just how gangs form, it's like they have nothing else and they become part of a gang. Gives them a sense of purpose, family, belonging, identity, esteem, status, respect. How's that different than this Antifa group? You think that just rose organically? These are idealist young people. Give me a break. Wakey, okay? But they're doing violence to people in a big way. And they talk about murder. You have people, can't remember her name now. You have congressmen and women who will make remarks that are tantamount to basically calling for violence against, just right up to the point of almost saying it, You know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look into it. Just look into it. It's subtle. This stuff is going on in very subtle ways, but it's there. And let's talk about it. Classification. All cultures have categories to distinguish people into us and them. Ding, ding, ding. All right. Has any country got more us and them stuff going on than us right now? Us? Yeah. Us. Through the media, what are they doing? Engendering strife and division constantly on all kinds of ways. Gender, race, religion, nationality. Right? German and Jew, Hutu and Tutsis. Bipolar societies that lack mixed categories such as Rwanda and Burundi are the most likely to have genocide. Okay, now I have not read all this through. I just wanted to talk about the titles, but there's a lot to explore here. But guess what? It's 8:21 a.m. I want to be done with this 20 minutes ago, and maybe you do too. So I'll leave it to you. Look up genocide. Read this. Just think about it. I'm not here to educate you. I'm just here to say, I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit. You go looking. You go walk behind the curtain. All right? See what you find. You bring me something, because I don't know it all. I can't think it all through. I can't cover every base. I need people. I'm not an island. All right? So Hutu and Tutsi, bipolar societies that lack mixed categories, such as Rwanda and Burundi, are the most likely to have genocide. Now, why is that? Well, I think it's plain to see. But that's why the more they can get people into groups and hating each other and demonizing each other, haven't you seen Republicans call them demon rats instead of democrats? Or excuse me, demon rats instead of Democrats, right? Is that any big deal, or is that just a little joke? It's a big deal because it's dehumanizing. That's why the Germans were called Krauts, Jerry's, right? All the Asian genocides, the Eastern genocides, where, and I say that meaning, yeah, that's what was going on. Slopes, gooks, gooks, slopes. So they called the Oriental people. What else? Let's see. Gooks. I think white South Africans called them Kafirs. I might have that wrong. Called the black people that worked on farms and stuff like Kafirs. Giving people names that are less than ignoble names, let's say. Okay. Let's see here. Excuse me. Symbolization. We give names or other symbols to the classifications. We name people Jews or gypsies or distinguish them by colors or dress and apply the symbols to members of groups. Classification and symbolization are universally human and do not necessarily result in genocide unless they lead to the next stage, dehumanization, which I was just talking about. Combined with hatred, symbols may be forced upon unwilling members of pariah groups. The yellow star for Jews. Blue scarf for people of the eastern zone of Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. So on, okay? Dehumanization. One group denies the humanity of the other group, and that's what happened with the Tutsis and Tutsis, or Tutsis and Hutus, excuse me. And then it was it was like fodder to be, Satan, the demons, principles and powers of spiritual wickedness in high places work through certain individuals to organize and create the moment when it all goes down. Members of it equated with animals, vermin, insects, or diseases. Dehumanization overcomes the normal human revulsion against murder. At this stage, hate propaganda in print and on hate radios is used to vilify the victim group. It goes both ways too, okay? But which one's stronger? Which one's going to be funded? Which one's going to have the weapons? All right. Organization. Genocide is always organized, usually by the state. It's very important. Often using militias to provide deniability of state responsibility. Sometimes organization is informal. Okay, you can read this, all right? Polarization. Some of this is there's a lot of overlap. There's preparation. So we are clearly not at the extermination phase. Extermination is when it all goes down. There are vestiges of this, and what do I mean by that? There are people who are already starting to do that work. They have gone through all these stages up to exterminations, and whether they're acting under as Manchurian candidates or trial balloons, or they're part of this process, which it's really a lot of that's going on. But there are those who are ready, willing, and able to enter the extermination phase. They are willing servants of that movement or that idea for the, to kill the quote unquote other. And that comes down to like whether they kill one or they kill 50. That's a genocide. There's a genocide going on. Because if you take the life of one man, you've destroyed the whole world, right? You've destroyed worlds. You've destroyed generations. You've destroyed... I don't have the math in front of me, but if you go back, I believe it is like 25 generations. 20 or 25 generations. So you have a mom and dad. Unless you're born in a petri dish, right? You have a mother and father. And they have a mother and father. And each of them, their mother and fathers has a mother and father, and so on, right? So if you follow that back, I believe 25 generations, it takes 1 million people to make you, brother. It took 1 million people to make you, sister. Now, when you look at people as you go about today, and we all look different, even if we're the same color, we look different heights, different body shapes, different eye color, different face, different bone structure, walk different, talk differently, whatever. Freckles, no freckles, whatever. How many generations back would you, if you could go back and know all the chains, are you related to them? Aha, right? Having that perspective helps us to love our neighbor. And, that's one of the things Bible say, that God created Adam and Eve, the first man and first woman. And through them came all of us, right? Anyway, back to whodunit. Everyone's a conspiracy theorist. Now you have another classification in a group of, and they are making the lists and checking them twice and finding out who is naughty or nice. They're going to know who's the conspiracy theorists, who are the ones they can take out, take off, put in detention, aggravate, use, destroy. As I said before, they don't have to take all the guns. They just have to take the ones from the people who would use them the way they were meant to be used against tyranny. You think it through. Think it through. Same thing with this whole thing with, a genocide does not have to be 800,000 people in 100 days. Now, there's other ways it's going on. When you saw, I played in the beginning of this, 1997, 22 years ago, MTV Music Awards, out comes Marilyn Manson. Transgender looking, dressed very weird, demonic looking, Prince of Darkness type of a guy. And he stands there like a president with two, it's theatrics, and talks to his fellow Americans and says that, did I close that? I think I closed that. I ought to play it again. Anyway, the point being is you hear that this is 22 years ago. I don't know what the status of MTV is now, or MTV Music Awards. But back then, it was pretty popular. MTV was a big deal. And then it turned into reality TV and whatnot. But, it's a cultural influencer. Big time. And in 1997, Marilyn Manson comes out and basically calls Christianity, a-holes, and you don't want to go where they're going. Meaning to heaven, and, whatever. And again, this is all, I'm not going to get into the correctness or incorrectness of his theology, and because he does talk about, in his understanding about working their way. I closed the browser, or I'd pull it up again, play it again. It's only a minute or two, but the point is, that was 22 years ago, and the multitudes of crowds are cheering. These are young people. These are Americans. What does that mean? Uncle Benny, what are you talking about? What's that have to do with genocide? There are those who are dead already. And that kind of message, that kind of leading, that kind of influencing is soul killing, soul destroying, laying on more darkness, enforcing lies. It's genocide. Well, that's a stretch. Do you know what eternal life is? And do you know how it's achieved? Or granted, really, not achieved. It's granted. And if you cut off a life, whether they die now or die a year from now, isn't it murder? Think about it. If you gave someone poison today, but it took them 6 months or a year to die, did you still murder them? Now, if you're destined, if you're called to live forever, God came into the world, sent his only son to die for your sins and mine. He's willing that none should perish. He didn't come to condemn the world, but to forgive us of our sins and give us life eternal. And you cause them to stumble, and you turn them away. Aren't you murdering them? You're cutting them off from life, whether it's now or when they die 50 years later. Maybe some of them died on their way home. A car accident. A lot of people go to concerts every year and they never make it to the concert, never make it back from the concert. Things happen to them. At any rate, Genocide Watch, this last 100 years, it's 2019. If you go back 100, 120 years, the number of genocides on this earth, it's astounding. Now, I didn't live 100 years ago. I only know what I can find out about history. But there is the fullness of times. We are seeing the signs of the end of the age. We are seeing the signs that the fruit is ripe. He's going to return soon, the Lord. And hold on, let me just real quickly, let's just go back. I want to talk about signs. Talk about Matthew 24. Okay. By the way, okay, I don't want to get into all this, but Fed remains target as economy falls short of Trump's goals. Bankruptcies rises. Consumers knee deep in debt. Yet the market was just going up and up and up. Everything's good. We're great. Trump's out there. It's like everybody's believing things are so great. Well, there you go. Here's this. A lot of cognitive dissonance. A lot of conflicting information. Treasury yields extend plunge. Investor pondered negative bond rates in USA. Now, you need to look up what negative rates are. Other nations, if they're cutting their interest rates, they're going into the negative. This isn't the time place to explain all that, but it's depositors next as Nordic banks buckle under strains. It means people have their money in the bank. There can be a bank run where people are afraid they won't be able to ever get their money out, and then they make a run on the bank. The bank doesn't even have it. This shouldn't. If this is news to you, just look up bank runs. Anyway, okay, I don't want to get into that. What I want to talk about, signs of the times. Okay, there's all kinds of stuff I could talk about. The usual stuff, of the prurient stuff that's in here, but I did see something about pestilences. Where is it? Hepatitis A breaking out across the country. There's no end of stuff. Maybe that was it. I thought I saw some other stuff. Excuse me. Anyway, moving on. Genocide Watch. Check it out. We've got slow kill through allopathic medicine. That means your regular doctors. Pharmaceutical. Look up how many people die from medical injury. How many people die from medical injury, malpractice, misprescribing medications? Yeah, it's bigger than gun violence. We don't think about it. Why? Because these lying deceivers misdirect our attention. And the crowd, the lemmings, just go along with it. Be careful talking about the news with people, because you can easily fall back into thinking that's what's important. And most people, I don't mean it in a condescending or critical way of being like derogatory. Most people don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand. They have no perspective. They're lost. Recommend this book. I wanted to pull up, I couldn't find it on this machine, a list of books that maybe it's time that you kind of know. I'll give you kind of a reading list of things that might help you out. I'm not saying everything that's written is absolutely 100% true and I believe it, whatnot, but you know, you need to take the where there's smoke, there's fire principle. Take the, I'm going to, you know, see if there's, I'll take the meat and spit out the bones. You know, see what people have to say. Consider the evidence. Because most of us aren't given evidence. We're given a spin story all the way from the day we entered kindergarten, first grade. And it gets worse and worse as we get older. Start getting into U.S. history. Start getting into what do we take? Sociology, psychology, U.S. history, world history. Then you get into college. Maybe you branch to get a little deeper into it. Are you getting the real picture from these people? Or are you getting spin? Is your mind being shaped the way they want you to think or not think? Are they giving you subtext, context, and non-text? Yeah. The answer is yes. Hellstorm, the death of Nazi Germany, 1944 to 1947. Well, I thought the war ended in 1944 or 45. Yeah? Well, the 2 years after, it was the most deadly and destructive war in human history. Millions were killed. Billions in property was destroyed. Ancient cultures reduced to rubble. World War II was truly man's greatest cataclysm. Yeah, and we all think that. We've seen it in the TV shows, the movies, the news clips replayed. Okay? Well, we think of that as the war against Hitler. Well, what happened after? What happened after? You'll be surprised. A lot of things going on in the world that we are not told about. It's there for us to see if we stop believing and listening and not questioning the lying deceivers in the fifth column known as the authorized media, you know, the big names, the ones that that's where you're going to get the real stories from, you know. That's where all the money's behind them. That's why they have the nice sets and beautiful news anchors and, you know, yeah. Take heed, no man deceive you. And with that, I hope you make a great day. And see if we can go out on some music. Maybe not. How about we go on? We go out on this. Help, Lord, for the godly man ceases. By the way, this is called Shake Hands with the Devil: The Journey of Romeo Dallaire. It's worth watching. It's not a definitive documentary on all the forces and all the things that went on in that thing, but it's worth watching. And also remember the context of some of the forces pre-January 11th, 1994, when this whole thing went down. There was a moment it started, and then started to unfold. The extermination phase. All leading up to it, those same forces, those same devils are working in your neighborhood. In your neighborhood? Yeah, in your country. Help, Lord, for the godly man ceaseth, for the faithful fail among the children of men. They speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor. I was just talking about that. They speak vanity in a lot of ways. You know, you get around the water cooler at work, the proverbial water cooler, and you start talking about the Epstein case, and you start talking about the Clintons, or you start talking about Trump and the deep state and all this stuff, right? Be careful. Most people are pooling their ignorance, and they're speaking vanity. It's a vain thing. Don't know what they're talking about. There's no substance, you know. They speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor. Flattering lips, and with a double heart do they speak. The Lord shall cut off all flattering lips, and the tongue that speaks proud things. Excuse me. And if you said God bless you on the other side of your screen or your phone, thank you. The tongue that speaks proud things. Who have said, with our tongue will we prevail, our lips are our own. Who is Lord over us? For the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy. Now will I arise, says the Lord. I will set him in safety from him that puffs at him. The words of the Lord are pure words, as silver tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Think about that. Wow. You wonder why I spend a little time in the Word before we get into the sludge? Yeah. Because one is pure, one is tried and true, one is purified and purified, sharper than any two-edged sword, and then the other is the those who think their tongue will prevail. Their lips are their own, and they have no lord over them. They oppress the poor. They oppress the needy, poor in spirit. This isn't just about finances. They oppress those who, they make people hopeless. They make people feel that there's nothing they can do about it. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord. Thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. And aren't the vilest men exalted? I played for you in the beginning, the very beginning of this video. Is that a vile man? Was he being exalted? As he stood up there and basically led the youth of this nation into cheering for the dehumanization of Christians? Vilest men are exalted. Even if they're spoken badly and they're glorified, you know, there's something to be said for bad publicity is good publicity. It's publicity, right? What about all the people who even make sex tapes and let them slip out for the publicity? It's vile, but they are exalted. Even if it's like, if they're people that they're celebrities or politicians where people love to hate. I'll give you another for instance. That the character, the actress, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Fox News, right? You would think that this would be, now she's a freshman congressman. She hadn't even been in office 6, 7, 8 months. That's all you heard about. In fact, she's likened to being sort of the leader of the Democratic Party more than the Speaker of the House. Why? She's been exalted. Is she vile? Oh, people love to hate her. Love to make memes about her. Love to joke about her intelligence. All this kind of stuff. And guess who features her or has quite a lot? Exalted her, really. Oh, your favorite conservative television station, Fox News. Now think about it. You know, it's over a decade old. Watch the movie Outfoxed. Now, it's probably coming from a liberal slant, but there's things in there you need to take the meat and spit out the bones, but you need to look and see that mind control is all around you. We're being lied to constantly. The world's not as it seems. There's only one who's true. Every man's a liar. We need salvation. We need the Holy Spirit. We need the Word of God to continually guide us. We need to recognize that just because we go to church on Sunday mornings, if you go to church on Sunday mornings or you go to church on Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Wednesday night, your preacher might be giving you a lot of non-text. Does he talk about the lying deceivers in the news that you're hearing about all the time, or does he just talk about the stories and add a little, biblical admonition about it? Does he really get into the mind control and spin? Is he the one who gets in and has your servicemen and women stand up when they're back on leave? They get up in their uniform they wore to be exalted in the church, and they honor them and all this kind of stuff? Or does he ever talk about how the United States has been the arm of empire? Yeah, I don't think he'd last very long either, right? They'd run him out of town. People have itching ears. Does your church have itching ears? Do you? All right. You make a great, great day. And take care of yourselves, because nobody else is going to do it.